Namaste and welcome to Simi's Masala Kitchen. Today we're going to be creating a delicious recipe, so keep on watching.
Before we start cooking, I'll take you through all the ingredients and equipment that we will need for this recipe. To make the churros batter, we are going to need 1.5 cups of plain flour, 1 tablespoon of caster sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of olive oil. You can use any oil, but don't use butter, as this will change your whole batter. Trust me, we've tried. Lastly, we'll need 1.5 cups of water. To make the dipping chocolate sauces, we are going to need 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, 1/4 cup of milk chocolate, 1/4 cup of white chocolate. To make the cinnamon sugar coating, we're going to need 4 tablespoons of caster sugar and half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. To make churros, we'll also need some equipment. First of all, we'll start by going through the piping nozzles. We'll need a starry shaped piping nozzle. As you can see, we've used 2 different, and this is what is going to create the really beautiful classic churro shape. I'm giving you an example of ones that you can use. Next, we're going to need a piping bag. These are just plastic bags which are often used by pastry chefs. However, if you don't have these, you can quite easily use the pantry staple, which is a Ziplock bag instead, and it basically does the same job. Let's first prepare our piping bags so that we are all ready to pipe the churros batter. Open up your piping bag and have your nozzle to hand, because we're going to use this to measure where we need to snip off the end of the piping bag. Make sure you use a clean pair of scissors for this. First, pop in your nozzle to make sure that it fits nicely in the piping bag. If it doesn't, as you can see mine doesn't, cut off a bit more until you get it to the right size. What you want is a bit of the nozzle sticking out of the bag, otherwise you'll find that the batter will start sticking to the piping bag. Once you've done this, pop the piping bag into a deep cup and fold back the edges of the piping bag so that it's ready when we have our churros batter to go straight into the bag, and you can pipe it straight away. You want to do this because you want to pipe the churros batter while it's still a bit warm. This makes it so much easier to work with. Once it gets cold, it's much harder. Similarly, if you're using a Ziplock bag, do exactly the same, where you can snip off the end and again pop it into a deep cup. It's okay if you don't have a piping nozzle, just use the end shape of the piping bag or the Ziplock bag. You won't get that beautiful, pretty, classic churro shape, but you'll still get churros which are still delicious to eat. Now just place these to one side and let's move on to making our cinnamon sugar mixture. Simply for this, I'd just like you to pour in the caster sugar into a plate along with the cinnamon and just mix it to make sure there aren't any lumps. You'll get a delicious flavour from this. Once this is all done, set it aside so that we can use it to roll our churros in a bit later. Let's now move on to making our dipping sauces. So we're going to make 2 sauces, a milk chocolate one and a white chocolate one. The method for both of these is the same. So firstly, take 2 tablespoons of cream into a microwavable bowl. Make sure the cream is nice and thick. Heat it in bursts of 30 seconds until it starts to simmer a little bit in the microwave. Once that's done, we're going to add in our chocolate. Let the chocolate sit for a couple of seconds and then stir it until it's completely smooth. Do exactly the same for the white chocolate sauce, except use white chocolate instead of milk, of course. Make sure you're giving it a really good stir, because we don't want any lumps in our chocolate at all. It should be nice, creamy and smooth. Now that all of our prep is done, let's finally move on to making the churros. Pop a saucepan onto the hob on medium heat. Add in all of your water and let it come to a boil. After this, add in all of the salt, then take your sugar and add all of it in as well. Give it a little stir just to make sure that all of the granules of the salt and sugar get nice and dissolved into the water. Then add in 1 teaspoon of your olive oil. Give it another stir just to incorporate all of it into the water. Once it starts boiling, take it off the heat. The next thing you want next to you is all of your plain flour. Add this in and give it a stir along with your baking powder. It's really important to work fast here because you want all of this incorporated and you want to try and keep the dough nice and warm. I find the best way to mix this dough is actually using the wooden spoon. This helps it to come together nicely. As you can see, the more I whisk, the more I stir, the more the dough is coming together and forming a ball. And this is what we want to see. So just keep using those muscles of yours and keep mixing. Here's a close-up of what the dough should look like. As you can see, it's become really nice and smooth. It's come away from the edges of the pan. It's nice and smooth, still a bit sticky actually, but this is the perfect dough and this is what you're looking for. The next thing we want to do is to transfer all of this dough into our piping bag. Make sure that the dough is still warm, otherwise, like I've mentioned earlier, you're going to find it so hard to pipe. This is why preparation in this recipe is key. I've split my batter into 2 just because I wanted to try using 2 different nozzles to see if I could get 2 different shapes. Squeeze all of the batter that you've put into your piping bag down. You've got to push quite firmly just so that you get it right to the tip so that it's popping out of the nozzle a little bit. If you've not got a piping bag and a nozzle, use exactly the same method but just with the Ziplock bag. Here you go, you'll be able to see a bit of the batter just popping out and it's ready. So the next thing you want to do is take a clean plate and pipe 5 to 6 inch strip of dough. The dough can be a bit hard to work with, so use all of your muscles. Once you get to the end of piping the dough, you might find that you need something to cut it with. Use a clean pair of kitchen scissors to do this. I find this the best way of doing it. Another tip to make your life a bit easier is actually you can pipe the dough onto some strips of baking paper. This makes it easy to then place the churros dough into the pan for frying because you can actually put them straight in with the baking paper. Especially if you find that your dough is a bit sticky and it's starting to stick to the clean plate, doing it this way is much easier and actually you get really good churros using this method too. Heat some oil for deep frying. Make sure that you first test your oil. We're going to do this by using a small piece of dough to see if that cooks properly. You can tell that the oil is hot enough when that small piece of dough becomes nice and gold and cooks properly. Then you know it's time for the rest of your batter as well. For those of you who've piped your batter onto plates, simply pick them up and drop them into the oil. If you've piped your churros on baking paper, you can place them into the oil with the baking paper. Don't worry, it won't burn and you can pick out the baking paper after the churros are a bit more cooked. Once the churros are a nice golden caramelly colour, take them out and put them onto a plate with a tissue paper lined so that it can soak up all of the extra oil. Finally, roll the cooked churros into the cinnamon sugar mix we prepared earlier. Give them a good mix to make sure you get the coating all over the churros. And they're finally ready to eat. They should look a bit like this once they're all nicely cooked and coated. Look at that crispy texture and the golden sugar shining off it. It's delicious. They're now prepared. They're perfect in texture, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Have a look at this. And don't forget, serve them with the chocolate dipping sauces we made earlier. Look at them, how can you resist making them? So much easier than you ever thought, and just as tasty as the shop bought ones. Thank you for watching this recipe, and if you liked it, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.
Thank you for watching our video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time with an even better recipe.